Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 246. And today, man, it's just one of them days where it's like, you ever sit back and you realize how much energy and time that you're putting into a situation and you realize you're not getting the same back, right? And that could be marriages, it could be, romantic relationships, and it could be friendships. And the reason I say that is because it's true. I know a lot of people who have multiple kids by multiple dudes, and I'm like, yo, it's like, I just look at that, but like, and I think to myself, like, what's really going on here? Because it's like, why you keep making the same mistakes that you're making? Keep having babies with dudes who don't want to be with you or don't want to do X, Y, and Z. Like the worst is when they marry them too, and they expect them to change because they have a baby or babies. And I'm like, nope. Like you should have paid attention to the preview. That preview was gonna be, that's your life. And a lot of people don't want to recognize that. They don't want to they don't want to take accountability for that. I'm like, well, if you don't take accountability for it, man, then that's all on you. And it's true. I'm never going to sit here and say that I got all the answers or that I know everything that's going on. And I try my best to talk about things I know nothing about. Like I'm not gonna give somebody advice. About their kids X, Y, and Z. The only thing I've done in terms of that is like I remember when a kid lied, and the parent was pissed, and I'm like, hey, like do me a favor, and they're like, what? And like, don't go too hard on him, too hard on her. They're like, why? Because I'm like, you was that age once too. It's like you gotta realize that like she's gotta learn, she's gotta take risks, she's gotta do X, Y, and Z. She can't just play everything safe. You play everything safe and you end up just living a mediocre life, And last thing, man, is like just understand that, even though things suck right now, it's gonna be all right. You can't sit there and game plan for everything. You can't have a scenario for everything. It's like it robs you of living in the present. You can't sit there and wonder, oh, okay, what the fuck did the last 20 plus years of my life go? Or what about the next 5 and this and this and that? Nah, it's different if you have a 5-year plan. My 5-year plan when I was 30 was to get a career, make enough money to buy a house. I didn't specify where, but I wanted to buy a house here in what. And I'm like, I can't do that with the salary that I have. But here's what I can do. I can invest, I can create side hustles, I can do X, Y, and Z, I can buy a house. Who knows? Somewhere in the mainland somewhere, So it's like you have to understand that, everything that you do, there's got to be a time stamp on it. It's like when I used to compete. I conquered all my goals except one, which was to win my overall in my class. I've never done that, and I'm most likely not gonna do that, simply because I'm done, And people ask me like, why? It's like I've accomplished everything that I have left to do. I don't feel the need to eat exorbitant amounts of food. I don't feel the need to pin myself. I don't feel the need to do all that extra stuff. Cause for what? I'm 5'4". I got a physical disability. Yes, being a pro bodybuilder would be cool. Would be great. But you know what comes with that? A lot of discipline, a lot of lonely nights, a lot of long days, and it's just not something I want to do. And to be honest with you, I make more money now than a lot of bodybuilders do who are not Mr. Olympia. Unless Mr. Olympia, or maybe you got a side hustle, maybe selling shirts, supplements. I don't know. But very few guys make money in that sport. You know, as much as I love competitive bodybuilding, you have to know when when it's up. You know, you have to know when you gotta put them trunks up. Now, I'm not saying go off and get fat. Because contrary to popular belief, last week I was 160, 65. This week I'm 163. So that tells me one thing. Whatever I'm doing is working. Because I'm losing 2 pounds a week. So my goal is to get down to 145. So it's about 18 pounds. And I figure I could do that by Christmas. So that gives me roughly, 12 weeks to do that. And thankfully I eat clean, so that's really not an issue. I mean, other than a few pints of ice cream, because I do have my my vices. So yeah, that's what it is, man. It's like, but no, like, enough about that. But it's like, and even with the romantic relationships, bro, it's like you gotta realize when it's time to let it go. Like, you don't need to keep putting effort into something and keep extending yourself and doing all this other stuff for what? It's like you're gonna end up stressing yourself out doing X, Y, and Z for somebody who doesn't want you the way you want them, and it's foolish. And it's really difficult for you to recognize the signs when you're in it, And that's what I tell my partners all the time. It's like, real. It's like she doing X, Y, and Z because she don't really like you, my boy. She just like the fact that you around. And a lot of niggas will take offense to that, And they were like, "Oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, but nobody asked you." And they're like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, that's cool, but nobody asked you to do all that. Nobody asked you to finance anything, Let alone if you financing somebody else's lifestyle, which to me is wild, I don't care if it's something that's, basic as hair and nails. I'm like, yo, it's like, if you can't afford your upkeep yourself, then why you expect me to do it? I can understand it's your birthday, Christmas, whatever. You know what I mean? That's different. But if you expect a nigga to finance something that you get done every week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, and shorty, you can't do that? No, I'm sorry. Like, I'm in the process of eliminating my bills, not adding to these motherfuckers. And as you guys know, a woman's upkeep is extremely expensive. Hair and nails by itself can run you fucking anywhere between $300 to $700 a month. In some cases, that's per week, or every 2 weeks. So you're looking at between anywhere to $600 to $1,400 a month. That's a car payment. But yeah, man, it's like, you gotta love on people who love on you. Stop thinking that just because you've known somebody the longest that like they have the best interests, or the best intentions for you. I've seen people, date in high school, get married after high school, have a gang of kids, and it's like, 15, 20 years later, they're like, yo, I don't want to be with this person anymore. I like this isn't what I thought it was gonna be. And you start looking around, and you're like, and it's more of the same, That's why people ask me like, yo, like, how you single, Mike? This and this and that. I was like, oh, like, I'm single because I stay out the way. I don't get involved in drama or anything else like that. It's like I don't force relationships because it's like it's like my thing is like, if you don't want me around, cool. Um, and I get it. I'm not gonna sit there and do CPR in a situation where it's not necessary. You know, I'm gonna listen to what the person says, and whether they hear me or not, I'm gonna move accordingly. Like, I think it's weird for people to be in relationships. I don't care what type of relationship it is. But if you're constantly planning all the dates, because I know people who do this, planning all the dates doing X, Y, and Z, and I've literally told people, it's like, yo, it's like, the reason why you got an attitude is because you living in your masculine energy. Like, what type of woman what type of woman plans all the dates? All of them. And that's what I told this individual. I was like, yo, what type of woman does that? What type of woman plans every single date night that they have? You know? Or it's like, why wouldn't the motherfucker have at least some sort of input, right? You know? And people got to stop and think about that. It's like, even when I was in my relationship, it's like, I went out of my way to plan shit, weeks in advance. You know what I mean? And I would tell my girl, like, hey, baby, we doing X, Y, and Z on this day. Be ready by X time. She'd be like, what? Yeah. Like, I got you. It's like, I'm not gonna say that I want to spend time with you and not putting effort into spending time with you. It's the same thing with friends. I have a lot of friends who I stick in different tiers. Meaning, I have my I have my middle school friends, high school friends on the one tier, college friends, and professional friends, right? And mind you, a lot of them don't really intermingle with each other. Some of them do, because it's like a lot of my friends nowadays, they're my personal friends, but they're also professionals too. So we can sit there, we can talk money, we can talk investments, we can talk business, whatever it is. The only thing I don't ever do, I don't lend out money expecting it back. Like, if you need something, cool, and if I can help with that, great. But I'm not one of them dudes that expect it back. Because obviously, if you couldn't handle it yourself, you would. You wouldn't be asking somebody else to confront you, right? And at the end of the day, that's what it is, man. I'm never that type of dude who's gonna keep score, who's gonna do X, Y, and Z, because that's not important to me. What's important to me is, like, you having the ability to go buy groceries every week, or you having the ability to, buy food for the night, bro. It was like I've been in situations where it's like me and my partners, this is when these niggas were solid, before they turned into salads. With me and my partners, we was out somewhere, and I ain't have enough money to buy lunch with them. So my boy's like, yeah, he's like, yo, I got it, don't worry about it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I got you, dog. I was like, all right. And then a couple weeks later, payday came around. I'm like, hey, man, I'm gonna pay you back for my lunch. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. Like, it's cool, And that right there told me one thing, man. It's like, yo, and like, we're no longer friends, but we're cordial. And every once in a while, I think about that, man. And I'm like, yo, and I told myself, it's like, if I'm ever in the position to help somebody else eat like that, physically, I'm gonna do that, And like, I'm never gonna have somebody, be starving while I'm grubbing in front of them. Never. Um, but yeah, man, I think that's the most important thing, bro. It's like you have to value friendships, you have to value relationships, no matter what type of relationship it is. You have to value them, and you have to take the lessons from that, because you can't sit there and just get exposed to lesson after lesson and not learn anything. Like, you don't want to do that. And it's crazy to me how people will sit there and like not understand the lessons that I've been taught to. You know, like you can't sit there and say X, Y, and Z and not learn from it. Some of the smartest guys that I know, believe it or not, they don't have a college degree, and they're convicted felons. And when I say convicted felons, a lot of these cats that I knew growing up, um, they they do drugs because, like, they grew up in the inner city, and all this crazy shit. And it's like nobody else around them really went to school. Nobody really did everything that they doing, and it's crazy to me how they can create a business plan, distribute all this stuff, and then execute it. And that's what it is, man. It's like it's and to take that same mentality and to apply that to a business degree after you get out of prison, while you doing your bid, you go off and you get your bachelor's, you go off and get your master's. You know what I mean? So it's like these cats ain't stupid, bro. It's the environment that they were in, and when you have nobody else out there who's doing who's doing the right thing, you have a tendency to follow the crowd, right? And it was insanely uh, gratifying that when people would judge this individual, and then they find out how smart that he was, and then they find out who he knew in terms of his political ties and everything like that. Yeah. You never judge a book by its cover, because information that person has can change your life. And it's amazing that people it's amazing that people don't want to recognize that. It's like, believe it or not, like I said, some of the smartest people I know, they don't have a 4-year degree. They barely graduated high school. Some of the stupidest people I know went to private schools, high schools, went to, Ivy League universities, got their masters, but you ask them to explain to what they do in layman's terms, they can't fucking do it. Like, you stick them in a real world situation where they had to actually talk to save their ass, they can't do it. I've literally seen dudes who, unless the topic isn't about their major, they can't hold a regular conversation. Like, they can't talk to you about the most current events. They can't talk to you about, what's going on in sports. They can't talk to you what the newest movie is about. They can't say none of that shit. But they can talk your ear off about something that they know all about. And to me, that is the most short-sighted way to do things, because you end up just isolating yourself, or you end up ostracizing yourself too, because you think that, oh well, this is what I'm interested in, so everybody else must be interested in the same thing. Nah, playboy, sorry, not happening. But yeah, that's what it is, man. You have to place people in tiers in certain situations, because not everybody deserves access to you. Not everybody deserves to have communication with you 24/7. And I reposted this quote to my page like about a week ago, maybe a couple of days ago. Anyway, the quote said, I ain't the motherfucker that you gonna hear from every day. But I am the motherfucker that you can rely on any day. And it's true. Some people I do a horrible job staying in contact with. But if they need something, and if I can help them out, I'll do that. Because I was once in a boat too, you know. You know, working check to check, minimum wage, you know, in the middle of a fucking recession, in college on top of that. I really didn't know where my next, you know, what my next move was, right? But I always had people in higher positions than me that threw me a lifeline. And I'm the same way with other people, you know? And I think that's the most important thing, man, is that you have to be able to give back what you can, when you can, because that's the only thing that matters. Helping people out and not expecting nothing in return, you know? And yeah, that's what it is. Whether it's business, whether it's personal, set them boundaries and understand this is how you operate, you know? And it's no ill will, no bad blood, but understand that we're all one situation away, we're all one bad choice away from being in the same position these people are. So if you can understand that and you can move and shake with that, great. So just place people in the tiers that they belong in and understand it's okay to outgrow people because you don't want to have, if all your friendships are from 10, 15, 20 years ago and you ain't met nobody new, that's a red flag to me. And I'm going to say why. Because you're not growing. You're not getting any wiser. You're just getting older. And and like I said, it's okay to have friendships that are 10, 15, 20 years, you know, immature. But if that's all you have, what's that tell you? Gotta grow. You gotta experience. Alright, y'all, this is about 23 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the full peace, private, player, positive, and pushing. I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace. Alright, y'all.